Welcome to the Microdosing for Healing podcast. I'm your host, Casey Garrett, and together we'll be discovering and learning from inspiring voices of healers, medicine keepers, and visionaries. Every episode, we'll explore the world of health, vibrant wellness, and natural medicine for a new era of human society. Welcome to today's episode. All right. Welcome everybody to the Microdosing for Healing podcast. I'm really excited to introduce and share with you a woman. She's just such a lovely spirit, and I'm so excited to dive into this topic. It's a topic that so many of you, especially recently, have been asking about in our microdosing community. So a few years ago when we began, the majority of people were coming to microdosing practice for mental health reasons, emotional regulation reasons. I want to reduce my headaches. I want to stop drinking. But this year, we're really seeing more and more people interested in developing their spiritual practice, really coming to discover, to tap in, to connect with their divine guidance, with their angels, with their spirit guides. And so I'm so excited to bring Sarah Renee in to dive into all of these topics to support you in your practice and answer lots and lots of the questions you had. So to introduce Sarah, she is a world-renowned medium and spiritual transformation coach. She helps bring her clients clarity, healing, peace of mind, and greater spiritual connection by bringing through messages from the other side. Over the past 11 years, Sarah has had the honor of doing over 50,000 readings for clients worldwide. Amazing. She's also the best-selling author of the Blessings book and workbook, and she's worked with law enforcement, celebrities, CEOs, and helps people from all walks of life heal and transform their lives in her one-on-one sessions and group courses. Welcome, Sarah Renee. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Beautiful. Let's dive in. When I asked the community, what is your top question? Everybody wanted to know spirit guides. So I have a very close relationship with my own spirit guide that has blossomed incredibly over the last few years with microdosing and mushroom practice. So many of them have watched this relationship build over time and see the depth and great power of it. So they're curious, does everyone have a spirit guide? And what is a spirit guide?
Yes. So, oh my God, I love this question. I love that this is how we're starting. It's I know it's going to be a great time. So yes, everyone has a spirit guide. In fact, I would say multiple. And so I've come, I refer to them as spirit teams, because what I started seeing, when my gifts started really opening up, is I would notice around every person would be kind of a collective of guides, that would come through that are I experience them less personified. It's more of a consciousness, a higher collective. Kind of if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, he talks about, Esther will describe it as they call themselves Abraham, for us to have a more of a human way to describe them, but really it's a collective. So I see and sense and get messages from guides that are with people that are beings of this collective higher intelligence system, as well as everyone has a guardian angel that comes in with us at birth, to just kind of watch over us and protect us and, help guide us through life. And then I'll see different guides, ascended master type guides, like Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Isis, those types of beings with people, as well as archangels. And then you have people's loved ones or ancestors. And so it's kind of I started seeing it these teams around people, all kind of like, what are we doing now? What's going on? Like,
Love it.
over, like somebody will be out in front, like paving the way forward, and the rest are in the back, kind of protecting and shielding. So, they work together. So yeah, so we all have these spirit teams, supporting us.
Beautiful. I love that spirit squad.
Yeah, spirit squad is a good one too.
Love it. Love it. So what is, why do you find people connect with their spirit guides, and what do you get out of it? Right.
So I feel like the main reason / benefit is that they're really here to help guide us through this time in Earth school, right? So that we can get our lessons learned and help others. Like, they help us live a more meaningful life. They're also like, if you've ever had the moment where like you're crying on the bathroom floor, or like you're going through it. It's like, they're the voices in that higher, pure divine love that can get us through those times and remind us that we are loved and supported no matter what's going on in our, families or our physical body or, our world here. So they're kind of like these great protectors that are also ensuring that we fulfill our soul paths here and, really like get the most out of our time here.
Love it. How do we distinguish between what is our own inner voice, our intuition, our mind chatter, right? And the voice of guidance that's coming from a different plane?
Yeah. So that, I feel like, that's probably like a big part of my work, with clients, is helping with that. I would say like one of the like most beneficial things that one could practice to really get clear on differentiating those voices is really like working to cultivate an awareness of your mental chatter, of your inner talk, of like, instead of just trying to silence it, like being like, what's this voice? Okay, that's my inner critic. Or like, I like to talk about the inner voices like archetypes, like, I have like an inner critic, inner child, inner addict, or whatever it is, right? Like all these different voices. And then you'll start to notice when you just pay attention that there's a voice in your mind that is you, that I feel like it's like your higher self, right? Or your true soul self, where it's like an ancient wisdom. It's like the wise one, like when your inner child's kind of freaking out or your inner critic's beating you up, there's like this wise voice of reason in you that's like, I think you're doing okay, we're going to figure this out. And, let's go here. And that's kind of pulling you to like, well, what would this feel like kind of calling you forward. And then there's this knowing that comes in, because it's like, I feel like your spirit team, usually most people, receive messages through like a telepathic type knowing, where it comes in, there's no train of thought. So that's like one of the biggest things to notice, where it's like, you didn't have like, there's not the reasoning of like, I think this, and then I think that, okay, now I should do this. It's more of like, this is what's coming, call this person, do this, say this. There's no dots to connect of thinking it through. And it's strong. It's like neutral in emotion. So there won't be a lot of fear or any kind of stories attached to it. There might not even be an explanation. It might be like, call this person, because maybe you're meant to hear something from them or share something from them, but they might not tell you that whole story. It'll just be, call this person. So it's like a strong, it's like, I need to call this person. I need to do this. I need to cross the street right now. Like, it's kind of like a feeling / knowing, where you just know that there's some truth in it, even though you have no logical reason of why.
That's so beautifully said. That's absolutely how, as my connection with my guide grew, what you just described was it was so clearly not coming from me, especially when it was regarding another person, like a third party. Sometimes she would come through and say, tell this person this. And I'm like, okay, this is clearly not coming from me because I wasn't even thinking about this person a few minutes ago. Yeah. So
well, like, and you'll get responses where you're like, okay, I don't think I would actually respond that way. This is better than what I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to peel back a little bit. When in your lifetime did you realize you had this gift of channeling?
So I had experiences as a young child, like 3 to 5 years old, where my first experiences were very traumatic because it was a darker entity. And so I was terrified to be in my room. I thought this dark creature was going to kill me. And my parents just kind of thought it was like a childhood, like your imagination, like monster under the bed type thing. And so that was really terrifying for me. And then when I was 5, my grandmother passed away, and she had been in the hospital, and my mom got the call in the middle of the night that she had passed away from cancer. And me, this little 5-year-old, made my mom take me to the hospital in the middle of the night. I was like, she won't leave until I say goodbye. Like, I have to go. And so she took me, she told me as an adult, like she was so afraid she was going to like traumatize me for life, like, but I just was relentless. And I remember sitting on the hospital bed, talking to my grandmother and seeing her sitting up on the bed and telling me, I'll still be able to see you. It just won't be like it has been. We're still going to be connected. You're going to be safe. I'm okay. And it was like, as soon as we were done talking, I was like, okay, grandma's gone. We can go. She's okay. And so that was my first like positive experience. And then, kind of growing up a little bit, we moved out of that house with the scary thing, luckily. And, and it was kind of more that I just always had these really strong gut feelings. I would see things that I figured like other people didn't see. Even in high school, people would give me a hug or, touch me, and I would get flashes from their childhood or things happening with them that I had no way of knowing about. So I always had those kind of odd things that happened that I wondered, like, am I crazy? Am I, like, what is this? At the same time, I was drawn to, my mom was teaching me how to burn sage from the elders, at age 12, like, so I was drawn to that world, but I hadn't really connected the dots. I don't think I could take it in that I had these type of gifts at that age. And I was, trying to numb it all. So there's a lot of addiction and all of that. Then when I was 18, I went to my first astrologer, who was also a medium and mentored other mediums. And she was the first person that told me, you have this ability. You can choose to develop it or not, but it's here and it can help people. And that was kind of like this moment that made everything in my life make sense. I was like, oh, and I still went back and forth with it for a few years. But I moved from Arizona to San Diego and started my spiritual healing journey, got into yoga. I ended up getting sober, going through AA, and then my gifts were just like so strong. And in my praying, like, how can I be of service every day? Like, guide me in what I should do. It was like I would get the opportunity to give these messages, or people would request. I was doing kind of energy healing and stuff at the time, and they would request just a reading. And so that's when it kind of just organically grew into this business. And then I finally, really went all in, and here we are, 50,000 readings.
Oh,
who would have thought?
what a gift. Beautiful. Oh, my next questions are around from our community people who are interested in developing the spiritual connection. One of the things, mushrooms have been tremendous in, definitely for me personally, in thinning that veil. I've always had a strong intuition. I've always been connected to loved ones who passed, but it went to a whole next level as I started doing intuition work, Reiki, healing modalities, and then mushrooms just kind of blew everything open to the next level. And as you just said, like as you clear and cleanse your body simultaneously from the things that are blocking you, alcohol, prescription drugs, addictions, toxic relationships, as you cleanse and release those things, it really can. We're so capable of a potential beyond all of us that we're aware of. So a lot of people in our community ask, in addition to microdosing and mushroom practice, what are some of the things that we can introduce into our lives to nurture that spiritual connection? And also, what are some of the important things to let go of? One thing that I wanted to ask you about for certain was altars and the role that altars can play in our spiritual connection. Why create one, how, where, and just any guidance you have around creating an altar at home for that purpose of spiritual connection.
Yeah, I love that. So I have altars all throughout my house, probably I think I realized the other day, there's even one in my kitchen that I didn't even mean to make. It was just put a candle there. And then the photo ended up there. So, I love altars. I'm a big believer in altars. I feel, as far as the how and the place, I think when you start out with the basics, then you start to get your own rhythm with it going, and you start to notice okay, this really helps me feel connected. I feel called to add this, and it becomes a really personal experience to create your altar, which is the best, the best practice. But the main things that I recommend are adding a candle, some type of, whether it's a statue or an image of maybe a guide, an angel, a loved one on the other side, or even just an image of wings or lights that just makes you feel spiritually connected, but something that kind of represents your spiritual connection to you. And then different crystals. And you could have my altars all kind of have different energies to them and different purposes. So I'll choose the crystals that resonate most with that energy. My work one, will have crystals more around productivity or prosperity, service, clear channel. I always have amethyst around me when I'm working, things like that. So then this beautiful practice with altars that I really recommend, and my clients have had just incredible things happen, is if you write down a list of your intentions, or of maybe you're going through a really stressful situation, and your altar can serve as a place for a surrender and an opening for that divine will. And so something, that I teach is writing down the list of whatever's happening, the situation or your intentions or what you want to manifest, any of those things, and putting it on your altar, and then lighting the candle. And the candle lit represents the divine working on it for you. And so it's a beautiful practice to do in the evenings, or when you have to go work on something else, is okay, I'm handing this over to you. Please help me. Light the candle, then you can kind of focus on what you need to do. If it's not safe to light a candle, obviously you don't have to. It's kind of a symbolic gesture. But that really helps it because altars are such a strong vortex, right? That's ultimately what they are. Is they're a vortex or a portal that brings in this divine light into your space. So it's by offering what you're going through, you're basically opening up to that divine intervention and those miracles. And it just helps you, I feel like, feel closer, and it also serves as like when you're walking through your home or through your office, you see this altar and you're like reminded to just pause for a moment and just, even if it's like 30 seconds, you're just like, oh, okay. Like, oh, they're working on it. Okay. Or, oh, like, that's right. Let me breathe for a minute. Okay. Or like, oh, hi, angels. Hi, grandma, whatever it is. So, and then you go about your day, but they create these little moments to reconnect, through in our life.
So beautiful. Aww. I wanted to bring this, and this is just something that happened just this morning. And two people in our community, although it's happened plenty of times, but it's just happened to two people just today, where they set their intention, their beginning practice, and all of a sudden, like the universe just conspires. It hears you, and the universe doesn't work on human time. So as soon as you make that spiritual commitment, everything can start shifting powerfully, and it starts rolling forward to kind of push you into your future and your becoming. And so now they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Right. And I wanted to, exactly. And it's like, they knew it was coming, they mentally, but I think in their minds, they thought they would get to choose when and how it happens. And you can kind of see, as a witness to this process, you can see the great unraveling is part of the divine will, of their becoming. We can't have the becoming until we have the unraveling and the deconditioning from the familiar, right? And so I was encouraging them to speak to spirit and tell them, I'm releasing, I'm surrendering to you and my becoming, but slow the roll a little bit or offer me some guidance and some support and faith along the way to help me through this process. Because I think we forget about that we invite spirit in, but we can also communicate to spirit too. And I find that spirit will often really, really acknowledge and listen to us and kind of go, oh yeah, I forgot you guys are human. Right. So can you speak to that, like talking the relational quality of spirit, that it's a relationship we're building, not just kind of waiting for spirit to appear to us, right?
Yeah, so it's a collaboration, everything is a collaboration with us and the divine. And so it's working on that two-way conversation. It's kind of like when people talk about prayer, meditation, I always feel like prayer is us talking to spirit, and then meditation is us getting quiet to listen. And so something, and like if you're somebody who writes, like writing to them in a journal can be incredibly helpful, or just talking to them in your head, talking to them out loud. But you get to say, like, please help me with this, help me navigate this challenge, help me have stronger faith, help me feel you more. Like, you get to ask them for stronger signs, or to help you catch the signs and even help you believe in them, right? Like, so, something else that's really good if you're skeptical or if you kind of doubt yourself is to, like, let's say you get like, you ask for a sign and then you start seeing like the 1111s and 444s and all the things, but you have like that thought of like, am I just making it up? Like, is this really a sign? I don't know. You can ask them, hey, can you confirm that this was a sign? And then they'll send you another sign. And that's like the fun stuff when you get into this, like, okay, now you can't, like, you literally can't make this up. And so that's like, you get to constantly kind of check in and then allow, and then check in and then allow. And so it becomes this kind of constant contact all day long, where maybe it starts off with like an intention in the morning of, please guide me throughout my day. Even just that is immensely powerful for opening you up, because we do have free will. So they need to be invited in. So like, please guide me throughout my day, or guide me through this particular situation or towards this outcome. And then when you're in it, right? Because then, like you said, the universe conspires, things come up. Okay, I didn't know you were going to get to it this fast. Like, like you can talk to them like you would talk to another person. They have a great sense of humor. Like it doesn't have to be this formal thing, like just speaking to them like, all right, maybe help me through this now. Maybe can we be a little more gentle about it? Like, and, or help me have the strength to navigate this and the faith to navigate this in a way that's in the highest and best good of all. And they will respond, and help you through that. And, help you be able to embrace the releasing or, whatever's clearing out so that you can receive what it is that you're inviting in. And like what you asked about, what can we release? It's like all of the over attachments, like it's safe desire, like, yes, want things. Yes. All of that is great. But that over attachment to how it's going to come or what it needs to look like, or that it needs to be permanent. If we can start to release that in our practice every day and be in that, like, help me enjoy this while it's here, or like this or something even better. Like right now I'm desiring this, but if you see something better, I'm all here for it. And, really working on releasing that control, which is, that's a practice. I feel like that's like usually not one and done for people. It's like a daily, like, okay, I'm going to trust you. Give me a sign that it's safe to trust you. Like those things can be really, really helpful.
Thank you so much. I'm constantly floored, like in talking about spirit and divine guidance. There's so much in common with the practice of earth medicine too, and nature. It's the more you affirm, I've seen, the stronger it gets. The more you trust and lean into it, the more you see it, the more you receive. It's so beautiful. In terms of the human-y things that we do, especially in our modern culture, do you find that, especially now, we're so overstimulated and bombarded with inputs all day long, right? Like the impressions of things that we get and fill the static in our minds. Does that have a role to play in our connection?
100%. I actually just wrote a post, like a long Facebook post on this the other day, because what happened is, like, a couple years ago, I started seeing people's auras like in a different way. And so I started seeing some people that looked like almost like zombie-like they were like gray, green, like very sickly, or almost like Walking Dead was how I would describe it. And then other people would have this glow. And then I noticed some people would like sparkle like glitter. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what is this? So, that's the other thing too, like your spiritual connection. You can think that you have your gifts all figured out, and then one day wake up and have something new showing up. So, but what I realized, because I started tracking, like, okay, so what are the commonalities with these people that look like zombies, with the people glowing, with the sparkly ones? Like what is this telling me? And the zombie, right? Like it's like they weren't all the way in their body. So there's like a half in, half out kind of quality, where then your body, almost the energy starts to decay a little bit. And a lot of it is this overconsumption of technology, over, information overload, where we get stuck in our heads, we're getting out of our body, disconnected from our soul. And it's really killing us a little bit. I mean, not to be dramatic, but it's definitely harmful when we talk about spiritual connection for sure. And it's not that all technology is bad or that you can't use any of it, but just really prioritizing that time of quiet, silence, no screens, whether it's meditation or a hike or a walk or going to the beach or, but something where you are kind of unplugging from technology to like re-plug in spiritually. So, and also, spirit keeps sending through like technology is advancing so much. And we're in this time where, humanity and society, we're going to have to figure out what's ethical, what are ethical ways to use technology, and, what is more power driven, greed driven, that could end up destroying humanity. And so we're in this time of really like, we're rebuilding, we're figuring things out, we're talking as a society of like what works and what doesn't work anymore and all of that. And so during this time in particular, we have AI, we have it's so easy for people to create false information. And so it's really a time of like really fine tuning your intuition, like prioritizing that spiritual connection even more than any other time in history, so that you're constantly like coming back to check in, like, okay, what's really happening? What do I really need to do? Instead of just reacting to whatever is being shown to you, or like getting off Facebook or whatever, like, and going and walking through your community and seeing like, to remember like, okay, people are still nice. People still love each other, just kind of really reconnecting with one another, because it is a time of unity, even though separation is kind of being sold to us.
Well,
not to go too far.
Well said. Well said. I'd love to get your reflection on, in addition to, the static and noise of technology and mainstream media and, the artificial constructions of society. Another thing my guide has been very, very clear with me on is divine guidance and connection is really based on honesty. That any kind of dishonesty, manipulation, and authenticity creates static in the channel.
Yep.
And it's a very, very important thing that I have held. She's brought that to me with such clarity that it's definitely something I keep close to me at all times, is to keep that truth alive in me. And I've noticed the more I stay true to that, the more powerful her guidance is, and the clarity with which my intuition operates is truer and truer. So I'd love to get your reflection on that.
Absolutely agree with that 100%. And, that's like I share all the time with my audience, like anytime, especially in the recent years with the pandemic, all these things, right? Like any kind of choice that I had to make, whether it's what to do about work or what to do about my health or, anything, there was so much noise, right? And there were so many strong opinions, and there was, science showing this, science showing that, like, right? Like all this information, but all kind of skewed. So like before making any kind of big decision, like I would go off like all technology for a week and completely like cleanse the palate, is what my guides say. Like, just, it's good to be in the know. We don't need to go hide, but like intaking some information, knowing whatever you need to know, and then cleansing the palate to come back in what is right for me, what is true, what, with this higher sense, like what's the truth through all the muck, and like really focusing on that core, and just letting the noise just kind of be out in the background so it's not turning into static in your field. Because yeah, like that it's just like pollution, like that's how I look at it, is it's like pollution in your energy field, where then you have this experience where it's like, where even me, it could be like, if I wasn't clearing my field, I'd be like, well, I think I want to do, I feel like I want to do that, but I'm not sure. So it feels like doubt, confusion, but really it's just the pollution of too much external energy and information, or deceit, or lies, right? And so, or partial, right? Usually it's like half truths, or true, because it's being skewed through whoever wants you to do whatever.
Right. Right.
And I felt like I watched these big breakdowns in other intuitives and psychics through the pandemic, who got caught up in different extremes, and where their channels just where then I got a whole bunch of new clients saying like, my person can't even get anything anymore, and it was because of getting caught up in any extreme. And it's not one versus the other, it's all of them, right? And so that was really insightful to know, and just kind of validating to, like you said, like just really, really clearing away anything that doesn't feel true, or anything that is maybe attempting to manipulate you, even if they think it's for the good, right? We don't even need to go all conspiracy theory, right? Like, but just filtering that out. And something that I do that is incredibly helpful is just this little mantra of, please send all energy that's not mine into the light to be fully transmuted. And so I do that like after I walk to coffee. I do it, after readings. I do it after scrolling on social media. Anything, of really just clearing out that noise, reconnecting my channel, and so then, and asking to be a clear and perfect channel of the divine. And that really, I feel like, will keep you grounded too. Like I'm wondering, you probably feel more grounded as you do that, in your life as well, because you don't have all these things kind of pulling at you or like sweeping you up. Like I find that it expands you intuitively, but it also grounds you, in the earth. So it's really this beautiful tool that we all really need in these times.
Especially these times. Yes. Beautifully said. I'd love to get your reflection on the role of environment. One thing I've seen remarkably true is over the past 4 years in our program, once people begin microdosing practice, they tap into their intuition. And part of that is, I need to move. I need to be in a different part of the world, in a different city, in a different country sometimes. And it's been remarkable to watch them, make this transition and watch them bloom and thrive. And so I know you mentioned you moved from Arizona to San Diego. So do you find that having the impulse, as you get clearer and clearer with your channel, with your spiritual connection, you get clear on where you're supposed to be, where you're not supposed to be, and have your spiritual connection enhanced when you are rooted in the right place?
Well, I feel like it comes down to alignment, really, and that energetically, and it's beyond logic, right? Because any of us could say like, oh, but I have this job offer here, or I like it there better, but that might not mean you'll thrive there. Because it's really about the alignment. And then we had, it's like I kept seeing the past few years of just like shuffling. Yes. Like so many people moved, so many people, relocated, moved somewhere, then moved back. And it was like all of that movement changed the vibration of the towns and cities too, where then people were starting to feel like, oh, I'm not aligned with it here anymore. let me go here. And so it kind of just triggered this movement for all of us. But I do, I feel like as you start to open up intuitively, it's not so much that you change, it's more of your awareness opens up. And so now it's like, well, I can't be here knowing that it's not in alignment for me. So it feels like discomfort.
Yes.
Or like I can't have these conversations anymore. It's kind of like, I always compare it to like quitting drinking. It's like, well, when I quit drinking and got that alcohol out of my system, it was like I no longer aligned with certain people or certain behaviors, certain things, like all of that, because I wasn't putting a substance in me that then made me align with that or tricked me into thinking that I aligned with that. And so it's like, I think that's what happens for people is you get out of your mind that's telling you this is what you need to be doing. This is what you should be doing. This is what everybody expects from you. You can't, let everybody down, whatever it is, like all the reasons. And you quiet the mind, and then you can hear your soul, and your soul is like, hey, there's somewhere better for you. You're actually meant to be somewhere else. And once you hear it, it's almost like you can never go back. But when you follow it, life can get so much better. I mean, like when I was in Arizona and where I am now, like I could have never even remotely fathomed that my life would look like it does today. Like if a psychic would have told me, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to live here, all of this is going to happen, I would have laughed hysterically. Like I would have been like, that's funny. Like in what universe, And so but it's like when we get somewhere and we're aligned, it's like then the channel just opens, the creativity flows, like the opportunities come in, and we get in that flow state of where then it's almost effortless. Whereas like it was so hard before. And so that's like one of the tells too, is like, are you in constant struggle or are you in the flow? Where like even in the challenges, you can feel like you're flowing through it. So.
Chills. I love it. I love it. My next question is, are there any things that you see in people when kind of a spiritual opening or up leveling is about to happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's kind of two phases. And I like to point that out because not everybody loves the first phase, which is usually, like you mentioned, like the unraveling. It's kind of like it can feel like falling apart slightly, or like an area of your life falling apart. And I do like to tell people, like, it doesn't mean that you have to burn it all down. Sometimes it might, but not always. And I think that we can kind of jump to that sometimes. But like sometimes it's like, it's not, like marriage, for example, it's not even necessarily that you need to leave, but it's like it just gets unbearable. It's like, I can't go on like this. Like, so there's some type of realization that, because we can all be stubborn, and nobody really loves change, right? And so usually it's like, the universe, the divine, like they're pushing us to a point of where we will open up and become willing. So we get to determine, right? If we practice being more willing, the rock bottoms don't have to be as hard. So that gets to be a good practice, which is usually easier as you get through enough, because then you start to realize that you can trust and have faith, and it does get better on the other side. And so we don't cling as much as maybe that first time. But that's like, so generally it's like a feeling of, I'm doing all the things that I should be doing and nothing's working. Or all of a sudden I just feel like this job is unbearable, or like dead energy. Like I just don't even want to be here anymore. Not even necessarily in a depression, but just that energy of like nothing is giving me life anymore. And then that usually leads to a point where then you start to feel the inner nudge. You start to feel like there has to be something more. Like there has to be more. There has to be a reason for this. Or you start to just feel like this, like oddly drawn to like different people or different topics or different things, and you don't even know why, but it's just like this internal knowing again, like starting to activate. Like you might not even know to call it your knowing. It might just be a weird feeling or a sense or, an inner nudge. And so you start following that, and then you're like, oh my goodness, like this is so fascinating. And so you start to kind of like amplify that, right? And pick up some momentum in this new direction, or in learning about things, or so it's this, or some people too will feel it like they'll start to feel like, oh, I feel like my person is trying to talk to me, but I can't hear them. Like that's I get that probably like 5 times a week. Like I feel like somebody on the other side is trying to get through to me, but I just can't make out what they're saying. You start to feel a presence around you, not in, a negative one, like a good one, but it feels like they're not just there comforting you, like there's some kind of point. And you start to feel this like something's going to change. I don't know what it is, right? Like you might feel a little anxiety about it, but there's this kind of internal like knowing system, or this sensitivity to energy in all people. Or like maybe suddenly you can't watch this show that you loved, but it's too violent now, and like little things like that. Or you can't handle talking to the person that complains or says bad things about other people all the time anymore. Like it's almost like energetically you become hypersensitive to anywhere in your life that's out of alignment. And that is like, it's just spirit shedding the light on like, hey, you're ready. You couldn't see it before. You needed to learn more lessons. Maybe it was still serving you for some reason, but now it's time for a change. So we're going to shine the light on it until you get so uncomfortable that you're willing to make the change.
Powerful. So beautiful. Thank you. Another one that my guide has been quite chatty about is how far away the human diet has gotten from supportive of a connection with the divine. Mm-hmm. She again and again reminds me, we need to eat living foods. Foods with an energy, foods with a radiance, foods as close to the earth as possible. That's what they're there for. And so she especially reminds me that it's deeply impactful for her ability to connect with me clearly based on what I am putting into my body. So I would love any reflections you have on diet and nutrition and connection.
Yes. And I feel like we're in such a day and age where we are outsourcing, like we're relying on the apps to tell us how much we walked, whether they're right or wrong, right? Like, or to tell us how much energy we have or what we should be eating. And spirit's constantly like, can you just check in with your body? Like, right. How do you feel after that meal? How do you feel for a few days after that meal? Like really coming back to what makes you feel connected, what gives you more energy, more life force, and more strength, it's channeling this energy is a lot on your nervous system. So I find too that highly intuitive people need grounding foods, whether that's like a lot of like animal-based protein, or for the vegans, like more root vegetables, or, like things from inside the earth, beans potentially, like things like that, like a little heavier foods to ground us and to strengthen the nervous system so that we can run these higher frequencies at the same time, like the lighter energy of, fresh vegetables, of that sort of thing, like so that we don't get too heavy, too weighed down, of really using food to help us stay in that balanced state, which is what the food is here for, like you said, like to support us nutritionally and energetically, and keeping that balance of not going to too many extremes, but yes, eating more of like the food that was alive, like the food that really is here for us to eat, and not a lot of processed foods. Like I won't have, when I'm doing readings all day, like I need a really like fresh breakfast. I need snacks, like, fruit, vegetables, some good high quality protein. And that keeps me clear, and it keeps me energized enough to be able to do this work, versus when I eat, if I were to eat like a bag of chips, which I love chips. I'm not judging anybody. But, I get to eat those on my day off, not when I'm doing this work, which is a tell. And it's a good thing to note of, okay, when I eat this thing, I don't feel up to connecting. And, for people who don't do readings, it might be like, well, would you go to sound healing after that? Would you go to a meditation after that? Would you, like do a microdosing or plant medicine ceremony after? Like whatever your spiritual practice is, of noticing, okay, when I do this, after I eat this, do I feel more connected or less connected? Do I feel lighter or heavier? And really taking that inventory to notice, like, okay, maybe, because some people connect really easy fasting. So like they might want to connect first thing in the morning before they eat, and then eat right after. And then that's always interesting too, of noticing, what do you crave after you've connected? Because I crave completely different food.
Like, what do you crave?
I usually, so I eat meat. I don't know what your audience, but I usually crave like animal protein, like, or like a steak. If I've done like 5 readings, I'll crave like a steak, and like veggies or fish, like, grilled salmon or something like that. But versus like, so I crave something like, again, like kind of heavy enough, or like a big salad with a bunch of stuff on it if it's summer, like all the radishes and all the thing and all the fish and all of that. And that feels like it doesn't just shut my channel down. Whereas like if I were to eat like I usually don't crave bread. I love bread, but I usually, like, if it's like after I'm connecting, I don't really crave bread. Like, because I automatically crave something more alive. Maybe like fermented, right? Like a healthier bread would be different, but I'm usually not going to like boxed foods, that are bad, because then it just feels like almost like a wall goes up.
Yes.
Yes. Like, wait, that's too like shocking for the system.
That's exactly the way my guide has described it. Yes. Pop-Tarts and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, like I love a good, I had like a cheeseburger and fries the other day after my photo shoot. Like, I definitely have my days, but yeah, if I were to have that right after meditation, it probably wouldn't feel so good to my system.
Got it. My next question is around medicine practice. So one of the things we're seeing more often now is with more and more people becoming aware of ceremonies and journeys and retreats, and people are going internationally to places where they're big, large group retreats. And they're coming back and they're very, in some cases, destabilized. And what we're seeing sometimes, it's not just the medicine experience. Sometimes it's the fact that they were in a group of 150 other people with a lot of energies, a lot of entities. Yep. So I would love for you to speak to how that works, because I think it's a factor most people aren't even aware of, that comes into play.
Yeah. So, and I have clients that do different types of, ceremonies and all of that. So I don't do it myself, but I have the experience of what spirit sends through for them. So
yeah.
and what I notice that for sure is like those medicines are opening you up. Like it's opening you up. And there is, when you're entering into like a deep trance, right? Is that like kind of how you would describe it? That's like how they describe it to me. It's almost like you're going into such a journey, right? Like a trance like state that you're not so much aware of like the people right next to you. But where all their energy is all around. So it doesn't mean that you're on your own in your journey, even though it feels like that. And what I find is not all practitioners, and when there's 150 people, it might not even be anybody's fault, but not everybody knows how to clear out entities, how to manage that much energy. And I mean, I don't even know that I would be able to if I was doing that. So again, no judgment, but like that is a factor where then entities can just move around and jump onto somebody else. Or you're mixing up all this energy that you're processing and all of that. Like you definitely pick up somebody else's stuff in there. And I hear too, like, because what my guides always say is it comes down to the integration. And the integration is so vital of one, having those practices in a space that has really good energy, really clear. There's no ulterior motives. Yeah, maybe less people where it's not just a trendy thing. It's more sacred. And so that is a good way also, I think, to feel into different types of events or practices or ceremonies of like what feels truly sacred. Like the practitioner leading it is really valuing the entire part of the process. And what maybe feels like it's people jumping on it now that it's a trend and who might not have all of the knowledge or all of the training to properly, be respectful of the medicine, be respectful of the ceremony, like it's an art form. I feel like, it really requires a lot of awareness, a lot of energetic strength and clarity. So yes, they tend to, for anybody that is feeling called to that practice, recommend like smaller groups. Or one-on-one, or like, really like we're finding somebody that you really trust, that you feel a type of connection with, like where there is like a lot of integrity happening, a lot of safety protocols, like energetic safety protocols too. And then where there's that integration piece of processing everything that came up, because I work with a lot of people where I'll have to do clearings because it's like they went to this thing with 150 people. Now they have all of their stuff that was brought up. Then they have everybody else's stuff. And where it's like, they come to me like feeling like they got hit by a semi truck. And it's like, we have to do like 2 hours of clearing all of that. And then we can get into, okay, let's process what you worked through. And so that you can get the real benefits of that ceremony. And so it's really like making sure that you're, I feel like prioritizing working with somebody, like yourself, or somebody where there's a community where there's integrative work, or seeing somebody, a spiritual advisor or healer, or whoever you work with right afterwards, to help you continue to process what shifted for you and what came in for you, and all of that, so that you're getting the maximum benefit, too.
Exactly. Yeah. Staying with that theme, it's certainly true when someone comes back from, a ceremony that way. But even just the day-to-day going about this modern world, going through an airport or being in a shopping mall or going to a big concert arena, right? What are some of the things people can do just in their daily lives to kind of clear and cleanse energy of others?
So, really, so everybody has, we all have auras. We have an energy field around us. And when we get really tired, or depleted, or maybe somebody's drinking alcohol, or, any kind of drug use, even I would say like pot use, anything, it kind of brings the aura in. So then what happens is other people's stuff can get that much closer to us. And so, but that can even happen, like I said, like when we're tired, when we're not thinking about it, when we feel overwhelmed, we kind of like the automatic response is to like pull in, to withdraw. But then everybody's stuff is right there. So as much as you can, like really try to envision, even if it's like you're at a concert, you go to the bathroom, you're in the bathroom, you close your eyes and you just envision this bubble of light around you. And you try to push it out as far as you can. That can help you give off really good energy and also protect you from anything negative, anything from anybody else. So it kind of works both ways. And then like, as soon as you're leaving, starting some kind of habit where you're like, anything that's not mine, send back to where it came from or into the light. And I would say like doing that, often. And then like, if you're at a really big concert, or like, I always clear myself, like my sister and I love Disneyland, and I mean, it's Disneyland, it's happy, it's fun, but I still like, I'll sage myself, just to be safe. So, you can sage or, use Palo Santo. If I always say like, try to get anything that you're using, from a place that's sustainable and ethical and all of that. But you can smudge your aura, and while you're doing that, asking like Archangel Michael or asking your guides, please clear me of any energy that's not mine. So I always say like the rule of thumb is, if you're clearing energy, you don't want to leave a space or yourself just empty. You want to refill it, because if you don't, any energy will just come back in. So
She's got space, right?
Yeah. They're like, oh, look at all that room over there. I'm going to go hop onto her. I'm going to go move in her apartment, so like clearing it out and then asking, please fill me up with divine light, and really visualizing yourself, completely restored, filled up with like a golden light or rose quartz light, filling your house up with light, asking, or even saying like for yourself, like I bless myself, with the light of the divine, with love, whatever term, you could even modify that for like, I am, healthy and prosperous. Like you could use an affirmation to kind of just fill up your energy field with something good and with that light after you clear it out. And that is a really powerful practice that like anybody who's empathic or highly sensitive or intuitive, would really benefit from, for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you. My next question is specific to coming from our community. So, especially in the last year, we've had a number of people come to practice who had a really significant loss of a loved one, a child, a sibling, a best friend that was their soulmate in this lifetime, a spouse. And they're working through it. So I'd love to get your reflections around connecting with the spirit realm and the healing of grief of loved ones we've lost. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, probably I've said majority of my work is doing readings to help connect people with their loved ones. And so what I've learned in doing that is it's not to take away the grief. It's not that it makes it feel okay. Right. And I feel like that's sometimes a misconception that people can get. Because you're going to miss them no matter what, because you're going to wish that you could hear their voice like you did, or that you could see them, or that you could go travel with them, or, of course. But what it does is it helps with your healing by, instead of going through this devastating loss where like this person is just gone and it makes no sense. And it's like that loneliness and that void, right? Like, so what it can do is when you're in that, if you can start to connect with them, talk to them, ask them for signs. Give me a sign that you're here. Come visit me in a dream. It won't scare me if it won't scare you. Help me feel your presence. Help me feel that you're okay. What it does is it softens the loss, where you can start to feel like, okay, they're not just gone. Our relationship is just now in spirit, where you're still going to wish they were here. Of course, like I wish my people were here, of course, but it helps it be a little lighter, and it helps you feel like they're still a part of your life. And they always, like I said, they have like the best sense of humor. Like there's so much love on the other side. And it's not far away, like I look at it as it's like another dimension, and it's a higher dimension here, but it overlaps here. So they can be standing, right behind you. And even though you can't see them with your physical eyes, they can be right there. And so they love to like show off. Like they love to say like, how can I help you? Like, let me see what I can do. Let me see what strings I can pull. So often, they will intervene in these ways where it's just like I had like a little girl that, one of my clients, her daughter passed away of a rare illness, and her dad wasn't a believer at all. And she came in and she's like, I'm going to help him get this new job, and it's going to be something different, sent through all the stuff. And she's like, he's going to know it's me. Don't worry. And so I find out a couple months later, he was approached for this job. Didn't make any sense to him. He got it. He loves it. But the woman who did his HR paperwork was named the same name as his daughter. And he was like, and there was like, I think it was like on her birthday or something. There were all these signs, and he was like, okay, even I can't deny that this was her. And so I feel like they love to do that. Not from an ego place, obviously, because there's no ego over there, but from just helping us really believe and open up that they can be just as involved as they were physically. And they know we're going to miss them, of course, but that's, and reminding you that the grief isn't what connects you to them. It's the love. So the grief is something that you'll go through and you'll work through and you'll heal it, and then, maybe it comes back up, and because we know it comes in waves, but as that comes and goes, the love stays constant, and so the connection stays constant.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I have one last question and invitation. So, as we all know, our human family is having a moment, as we do across the eras. It's a really, really challenging time. And, we're going to continue to go through challenge in the years ahead. So, have your guides and angels given you any guidance for our collective human family at this moment?
So what they're saying, and I was inviting them to come through, and send through the guidance specifically for those listening. And, humanity is going through a collective spiritual awakening. And so what happened was the vibration of, our beautiful Mother Earth raised, the vibration of humanity raised, but where all of us healers and intuitives, we thought it was going to be all great. And what instead happened is the people who are clinging on to the lower way of operating, they're fighting it, right? And so and to them, this higher vibration feels too fast, and it feels like too much change, and feels too uncertain. And so they're experiencing anxiety, and they're experiencing rage. And, it's purging all of that shadow of humanity out. And so we're seeing the hate. We're seeing the wars, we're seeing the lies, we're seeing the manipulation, we're seeing the powers that be really fight to cling on to control. And we're seeing it because we are at a time where we can heal it, where it's no longer we just need to do the best that we can do while that happens behind the scenes. This is our lifetime, and this is why everybody's here, and why you're going through your own awakenings, and we're all, strengthening our intuitive channels and doing this work and doing our healing work so that we can be part of this ripple effect around the world. And knowing that to not get distracted, because everything is being sold to you, through the lens of somebody who wants something, whether it's to keep you just online longer, whether, no matter how menacing or not menacing, right? But it's being sold through a lens. And so really working to keep your channel clear and stay involved, and looking at how can I be of the most good? How can I be a part of the solution? And so giving less attention to the problems, not ignoring them, but focusing on the solution of what can I do? Can I volunteer? Can I send prayers? Can I send, energy, do energy healing? Can I donate? Can I, where, because, and knowing that everybody has different ways to help out that's aligned with your purpose. And your ways are not less powerful than somebody else's ways, because your gifts were given to you to have the most impact where you are on the planet right now. And so knowing that you are right where you need to be, and you have the gifts that you need to have, to be of the greatest service. And so starting where you are, not allowing that overwhelm to send you into freeze mode, and really, doing your part and knowing that it's rippling out, even if it doesn't seem that way. And knowing that despite what's on the media, people are waking up all around the world, and the people, so they're really clear about this, the people want unity. There are less people on the planet that want the drama and the chaos and the war and the hate, that are choosing all of that. There are less people for the first time in centuries that want that. And so that's why they're louder. That's why they're screaming it, and they're trying to seem bigger than they are, because more people are choosing love. More people want unity. More people want freedom for different people. More people want justice, but justice, that's an integrity. And people are waking up. And so all of those ways, those, and even like a lot of the EMF things, a lot of the, disruption, right? It's all trying to like kind of disrupt our channels. And so, but they're saying like knowing that it's just this last ditch effort, and they are outnumbered drastically. And we have all of this support from all of these guides, light councils and angels and benevolent beings, that, like legions and legions of light beings backing us up, helping us heal humanity and heal the earth. And, really remembering that the things that are happening, where the things that are happening that are pure greed and pure human will, the divine is intervening. And when all of us can really call forth and hold that vision of divine intervention happening, like that's sometimes the best thing that we can do. They are intervening to try to help, those groups of people. And certain things that happen in the government, it's like there's a lot of moving pieces, and it feels like there's going to be things that happen that have never happened before, unprecedented, where even the government won't know what to do about it. And where it's going to call into question, because we're at this time where we're deciding like what works, what doesn't work. We're renegotiating, we're looking at like, what do we need to upgrade? What rules were never set in place because we never thought we'd need them, and, tearing down and rebuilding. And so they're saying like to remember that even the things that happen that seem like, how could this be happening? How could this be divine will? To know there are reasons for it. And the divine is even working through the people who aren't very divine in nature. They can bring the lessons through for them. But they're saying like, we're really entering a time where we're going to see a shift. And it feels like it's started to happen, from people looking to kind of the powers that be, to world leaders, to the government, to even to entrepreneurs, to celebrities, big companies, to support us, to tell us what to do, to take care of us, where it's like, it's flipping. And the people, it's going to be, we're entering this beautiful time. So they're really excited for us, even though so many of us are afraid. They're so excited for us because they're like, we're entering this beautiful time of where we're really going to show up for one another. And we're going to create organizations, nonprofits or even for profit, or invent things, or, it's a time of innovation, and we're going to be helping each other and creating together and innovating together and really taking back our power as people and neighbors and community. And that is going to shift the power dynamics around the world, but for the better. And so it's going to be a beautiful time of healing, and it's going to be a little messy on the way there. So staying grounded and always remembering that your guides are going to keep you safe. And so that's also, this isn't coming through with any fear, at all, but it's like knowing that even if things are happening that feel really chaotic or feel a little bit scary or uncertain, that your guides are going to guide you through it. You're going to get the feeling of, I shouldn't go here, or I should go here, or I should leave, or I should, like, they don't like the word should. They're like, they're like, edit that. But, you're going to feel called to leave or go somewhere or not go somewhere or that. So it's really key to follow that, because they will be keeping you safe and guiding you, throughout this time of uncertainty, to keep you like as protected and stable and solid and happy and joyful and healthy as possible. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. So grateful for you. How can people find you, follow you, learn more about your work?
Yeah. So my website is Sarah Renee Inc. And that has, all the things. There's like a book with me page about my private work. I have a membership. It's just $22 a month on there, where I offer guided meditations every week. And I give a monthly channeled update of what's coming up for that month, along with Spirit's guidance for that month. And so all of that is on the website. And then I'm on Instagram, Facebook. We'll see when this airs. I'm in the process of getting my YouTube channel.
Oh, fantastic.
Finally put together. So I'll probably be over there as you're hearing this. Yeah, and I think we'll include all of that.
Wonderful. We sure will. Yeah, all of it will be updated in the show notes as well. So yeah, appreciate it.
On my website too, all the links will be there. But I'm Sarah Renee Brockman, I think, on Instagram now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here with us today. Deeply appreciate all of you. And we'll see you back in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Microdosing for Healing podcast. Are you ready to take the next step? Please visit us at microdosingforhealing.com to access our free Microdosing 101 workshop. In it, you'll learn more about our diverse community, our supportive group programs, and discover if earth medicine practice might be right for you. See you in the next episode.